Happy Monday! What's going on? What's going on? How we feeling? How we feeling? And we are back in full effect. And real quick, just wanted to say, I love this Joseph Abboud suit. That's right. Thank you to my man Will Butts, Barbara Butts, got it for me for being in his wedding. So hey, thought we switch it up today and do some a little black suitish today. But now that we got that out of the way, you're either getting better or you're getting worse, right? So a lot of times you say, hey, well, you know what? I think I'm a better man today than I was, 5 years ago, than I was 10 years ago, than I was 20 years ago, right? I might not be able to, run as fast as I used to, or, I can never dunk, but, play ball or anything as good as I used to. But hey, there's some other things that I'm better prepared to handle, especially from a mental or emotional standpoint. It's easy. Some things are easier for me to handle because just of natural life experiences. So yes, although we cannot go backwards and trade time in or say, hey, look, I want to be 25 again. We can't do that. But for the time that we have left is a time to look towards how do we get better. And what do I mean by that? Well, I'll give you an example for me. So there's certain things that I want to do, to make myself better. And just like a lot of different people, especially after you've seen that Ashton Hall video, right? Everybody wants to get in the gym. Now, of course, he's 29. So, most people will never be able to get six packs and stuff like that. But what you can do is go in and make yourself the best possible version of yourself. Right. Some days, if you want to, if you have free time or you're off a day, even if you don't want to pay for a membership, gym membership or anything, hey, look, just get up and say, hey, look, I'm going to go out and I'm going to, walk a couple of miles around a local high school's track or college track to try to put myself in the best possible physical condition. Right. So that's one way. Another way, hey, look, and I've thought about this for years. Taking some boxing classes, taking some karate classes, doing some self-defense work, doing some things like that. Now, I probably won't do the self-defense thing, but I'm not knocking it, right? But I've always had a thing, especially from my era, growing up watching Bruce Lee, growing up watching, martial arts at its finest, although, through the lens of a movie, but still knowing that, hey, look, if I went and practiced and I did certain things, I could, do some of the things that they do. Right. Because even when I was in a relationship, what I would do is that I would look and I would say, hey, listen, we started dating a year ago, because I would typically go based off of a year kind of deal for me, not as an anniversary, but almost as a benchmark. So what would happen was that, and that's how even me, I would even kind of look at my own happiness. And it might not actually be a year to the date, but around that time or somewhere after, I would start saying, and we all know how it goes. It typically happens after we're, upset about a situation, right? But so what I started doing was that I started saying, hey, look, how am I doing? How is this relationship going a year from now? So it's a couple of different factors I would look at. I'd say, first of all, because I would kind of focus on me, and I would say, how much money do I still have saved? So if I had, just for a number, if I had $5,000 in the checking account last year, has my net worth or anything increased at this point? Am I driving a better car? Am I living in a better home or an apartment at that time? What types of things am I doing to make my life better? Have I risen and going out to better restaurants? Have I gone on better trips? Have I gone on more trips? Have I gone on any trips? Right? And all of this stuff being correlative in the relationship that I was in, saying, hey, look, I'm with this person a year later. Am I happier than I was a year prior to me not being with them, or 2 years prior to me being with them? Is my bank account always being depleted because not just because of the things I need to do or done for myself, but is it being depleted because maybe I'm dealing with someone who doesn't see the picture the same way that I see it. They're not in lockstep with me with the way I want to do things. All right, you never know, right? So what happens is that a lot of times is you start to look back, but typically we only look back after 3 or 4 years, maybe 5 years, and start saying, wow, you know what? My life has either gotten drastically better or progressively worse. And when you start looking at it that way, you have to start to ask yourself, what have I done in this situation, whether positive or negative? What have I done? Have I been the catalyst to better things happening, or have I been the person who has been one of the downers or the people to bring this situation down? Right. So that's romantically. Then you have your friendships, right? Where you're like, hey, have I been a good friend? Have I been a decent friend? Have I been a supportive friend? Right? Because we talk about friendships a lot here, but have I really done the work to be the best possible friend I could be, whatever that may look like to you, right? We all have there's a myriad of different ways that you can be a good friend, or a supportive friend, or a helpful friend, right? So, and a lot of times it really could just be just listening and just giving feedback with one of your friends. So when you think about it, you say, wow, have my friendships gone or elevated to a notch? Like, have I been able to, and a lot of times guys will understand what I'm saying. Like, have I been able to make money with my friends? Have I been able to join forces and do certain things? Well, at times, me personally, I feel like that. But I also feel like there have been drastic missteps as far as what could have been done. And I know a lot of people may sit around and think about that, especially when it comes down to their friends. A lot of things that could have been done that weren't done as far as even making money. I was talking to a buddy the other day about how women, they always find a way to plan trips together, right? You might even have 4 girls over here that know each other, 3 other girls over here that don't know each other. And then they like, girl, well, my girlfriend is having a trip. She's such, 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 such. And then next thing you know, is girl trips going on all over the place. Right? Now I know guy trips more with the passport bros and stuff are going on, but just like, good, decent trips, like, getting the homies together. And even if it's just a car trip, going on, good, decent trips as men somewhere. Right. So it rarely happens. So even with that, but for me, and the purpose of this mostly is to talk about, are you getting better or worse? Have you gotten better or worse? Now, depending, just use myself for an example. At different years, different results, right? Just like all of us. Some years I felt like I was up. Some years, like last year, financially was down. Got into a bad car accident. Had some other stuff going on. So last year, 2024 was just not a great year, right? But there have been other years that have been great years. But those are just the things that are tangible, like, having money, maybe having a car, having certain things. But mindset wise, are you getting better? Are you the man that you thought you want to be? Are you a man who has raised or is still raising kids to be the type of person you would like them to be, which hopefully is a better person than you, right? What are you doing as far as yourself to make yourself, like what I talked about earlier, as far as going to the gym, doing things for yourself? What are you doing to get yourself in a better mental space as far as a man? Or it could be a woman. But Or as like I was talking about last week, or are we still procrastinating on certain things that we want to do? Because I'll give you, for instance, a few years ago, when I still worked a typical 9 to 5 job, part of the thing I would do was, my couple of days off, I'd chill, get some other work done and stuff like that. But it came a point where I was kind of like chilling too much, right? And one of the biggest things I would do is I'd sit back and I'd watch Sports Center. I use it as any excuse to all right, well, look, I'm off, so I got to be here from 10 to 12 to watch Sports Center. Then after that, I'd watch a little something else. And before I knew it, I was sitting around the house for 4 or 5 hours. So what I did was, to make myself better, I challenged myself. And you know what I said? We got a car. We got gas for the car, right? We have other different things that we can look into, even if it's not making money, making myself a better person, doing things to make ourselves better people, better men, stronger men. Because a lot of times, what happens is that, when you get a couple of days off, you get a day off, all you think about is rest. And sometimes you need the rest. I remember before, so I would do back to back to back 16-hour shifts when I worked at the psych hospital or at a group home, right? And a lot of you know what I'm talking about, where you work these crazy hours because financially you want to see the reward at the end of it. Although a lot of times you're tired and worn out, but still wanting to make sure that you're in a better place as far as financially and not a worse place, because we all know what happens to men, especially when you are in the worst place. Nobody's coming to save you. Nobody's coming to help you. Yeah, you might get some little here and there, but the to me, especially from a woman's perspective, the attraction to a man is a man that's a go-getter, a man that can go get what he wants, go get what he's supposed to get, right? Because I think Jeezy said it, for those of you who listen to rap, said it one time, said, men do what they want, boys do what they can. And you get a certain age, you don't want nobody calling you a boy, right? You don't want nobody calling you a boy. So you know what we do? A lot of us, we get out there and we go get it, right? We do what we got to do, hopefully legally, especially at a certain point, because, hey, face it, who wants to go to jail? So we try to do it legally. But we are always in this quest, hopefully, to become better. Now, just because you're on a quest to become better, in your head, because I've done this before too, in my head, I was on my way to being great, a millionaire, what's the name, 20, 30 years ago, right? In my head. But because of my lack of action, because of my lack of, at times, focus, nowhere near there. So, but guess what? The race isn't over until the last breath. So I would just encourage anybody out there, you got something you want to do, you go out and do it. Just like even doing this. It took me years to say, hey, look, I want to sit down and just, share my thoughts. Just share my thoughts, as Jay-Z would say. But it's time. And guess what? I wouldn't rather share with anybody else but you. So I want you to think about what I said. And that's the way life gets, unfortunately. It's kind of the same way, with health, with different things. Either you're getting better or you're getting worse. Very rarely do things stay the same, right? Very rarely do things happen to us where we get to live the same kind of life, whether it's a great life, whether it's a mediocre life, whether it's a subpar life. Very rarely do we get to enjoy that for the whole way through. That's why there ebbs and flows to everything, including life. So, hey, just remember, if you're not working on getting better, eventually you'll be worse. But until next time, live life. Don't let life live you.